Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about Scream. That franchise movies. I like the Scream movies actually. I watched the fourth one, which was the first one I ever watched, on a plane in 2011. And that was, maybe it was 2013 that I watched it actually, because I'm pretty sure that was a 2011 film. Yeah. I'm going to get the dates wrong of these movies. It doesn't matter, they're not relevant. Anyway, obviously, Scream franchise, big popular franchise, all directed by Wes Craven, crazy ass films, each and every one of them having their own unique stances on all these different things. And of course, look, there's a new Scream film coming out, unfortunately just titled Scream. I guess Halloween 2018 did nothing. Literally, it did nothing. It just made the same movie and gave it the same name, and it's really annoying. I still like the movie, to be fair. But that's one of the fears I have about Scream 2022. I hate when I have to name the fucking date. Like, at least if it's in the title of the movie, it makes sense. But, like, Blade Runner 2049, see? Because it's cool. But Scream 2022, that's just... It does roll off the tongue better, to be honest. There's an element of the Scream films that I find really unique, which obviously most film nerds in particular love. The fact that the films are meta-texts on the horror genre. The first film famously being on, oh, hey, it's kind of meta about the fact that it's a slasher film, and let's establish the rules of the slasher films, directed by a guy who fucking made slasher films in the 80s, and it's great. It's not written by Craven. I think all of the films are written by the same guy, including probably the new one. Who knows? But I'm not really going on anything. I don't know much about the new one. Realistically, I don't know anything. I know the cast, partially, obviously, some returning cast members. There has been no trailer as of today, and today is like the 8th of October. It's like less than 100 days till it comes out in the US, because it definitely won't be coming out in Australia in January. Fat fucking chance. So, I kind of wanted to look at what the fuck is the fifth one going to be about? And I'm not talking about narratively. Who gives a shit what the narrative's going to be about? You don't want to know what the narrative's going to be about. I know you want to see a goddamn trailer, but realistically, it's a slasher film. Do you really need to see a trailer? If you're really interested in the film, do you need a trailer? You don't need a fucking trailer. Trust me, you don't. Because it's just going to spoil what happens in the movie. The same thing happened with the new Halloween films. The first trailer for Halloween Kills literally spoils the whole movie. And I haven't even seen it yet. And I won't be able to see it till, like, January, probably. I don't fucking know. We're still in lockdown, alright? Regular stresses aside, it's very late right now. I'm very tired. Hello, random people who've never seen my channel before. So Scream obviously meta-texts about slasher films. Scream 2 meta-texts more about sequels of horror films and slasher films in general. And of course it has the feature of stab. Oh look, they're making a movie about a movie inside of a movie. Get it? It's meta. Anyway, the third film takes it to a bigger approach of it being like, oh, it's a commentary on the Hollywood system with the slasher formula and the slasher genre. And there's obviously a lot more stuff you could dig into with all these three films so far, but I'm not going to because I don't care to right now. Realistically, this is the groundwork you're going off of. The fourth film comes a few years later, and it's like, well, by this stage we've had, a new Friday the 13th, we've had a new Nightmare on Elm Street, and I think there was another remake, The Thing as well, but that came out the same year, so I don't think it really counts, technically. And so this is in the era of the reboot. You're continuing with maybe the same characters, which is kind of a classic thing, but you want to make it fresh. Give it some new faces, give it some new technology, do something new with it. So the whole meta-text on the slasher reboot. Can you still make something good when it's a reboot / 4th, 5th sequel kind of deal? Very Wes Craven's New Nightmare kind of esque. Except without it being really, really clever and just being still an alright slasher film. To be fair, I still like all 4 slasher of the Scream films. I think the third one was my favourite for a while. Obviously the first one's still the best, but to each their own. I'm not trying to present a subjective opinion about the films right now. It just happens. Anyway, the fifth film comes along and it's what? 11 years after the previous one. Wes Craven has sadly passed, but there's also been a TV series which I think lasted 2 seasons. I think it was an anthology. I didn't watch it. I don't care to watch it. I've seen like clips of it because my brother showed them to me. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And I know Craven had part in that before he passed, but it still doesn't interest me at all. And so I'm looking at it like, what the fuck is this new one going to be about metatext-wise? Like, they're not going to go to the length of the new Matrix film, which looks like it's The Matrix 1 was a film made and is a film in the universe of The Matrix, which is meta on itself. But, like, that hasn't come out yet. And whoever's writing this new Scream film is not the Wachowskis, so they're not going to have that kind of just crazy, insane brains that the Wachowskis have. So you're looking at it like, what can this metatext really, go off of? Because you'd expect a reboot kind of discussion or like a whole, oh, we're going off the nostalgia of this slasher thing or whatever. But it's like, that's not really a thing right now. It hasn't been. Like, the whole reboot phase happened from like 2008 to 2013, and it kind of died off there. Like, I mean, yes, I know Halloween did make a new one or whatever, and they have done Chucky films and stuff like that. But, like, and yeah, there was the It films as well. I just realized I have my Pennywise figure over there. I'm looking at all of them individually. You got the Evil Dead, you got some Alien films, you got the Pennywise of It. But a lot of them are going off different elements. Aliens building off of a prequel, which was Prometheus. So then you've got It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 because Stephen King is really popular. So they're going off their own other popular elements. Also because people really like 80s nostalgia, despite the fact that none of it's actually accurate to the 80s. I wouldn't know. I was born in 98, so who gives a shit about my opinion there? But we all know it's the fucking truth. But it's not going off of nostalgia, even though realistically it is because, the first book is set in the 50s. Nevertheless, the 2011, the fourth Scream film came about after a slight resurgence of, let's bring back these classic slasher villains. The fourth film didn't really talk about that. I think it attempted to, in a way, but it was like, because it was still tied into its own continuity, whereas Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street were complete reboots, re-characterizing the characters for good or for worse. For good in Friday the 13th, for worse in Nightmare on Elm Street, clearly. So you get to what house has come out slasher-wise, because if Scream's always a riff on the slasher genre, then what the fuck has come out since then? And you've got Happy Death Day 1 and 2, and Freaky, got that here, all by the same guy. Literally the same guy made all 3 films. I don't know if he wrote them, I'm pretty sure he directed all 3, either way. And that's, in its own right, just based off original, ideas, not original, based off other ideas from earlier things. Just Groundhog Day, but it's a slasher film. Back to the Future, but it's a slasher film. Freaky Friday, but it's a slasher film. Is Scream going to do that? Scream, but it's a slasher film. It's already a slasher film. What else do you expect? So it's, I don't know, it's like Halloween 2018 doesn't scream to me as a, kind of pun intended there, but it doesn't, I'm going to have to say scream again, it doesn't scream out loud, hey, this is a new formula we should go off with. We're just literally carbon copying the original one, but with modern day cinematography and with slightly worse directing and worse writing. That's just how we're doing it now, I guess. But I don't know, because nothing slasher genre wise has happened since then. Like, they rebooted Chucky after already doing other continuations of Chucky, which were still pretty decent, Cult of Chucky and that other one. I don't know what the other one's called. I have them all. It doesn't matter. Chucky died in the second one anyway. Actually, Bride of Chucky was the last good Chucky film. Nevertheless, they tried rebooting themselves, then they actually got the big studio reboot with Chucky, voiced by Mark Hamill, and it was pretty meh. So I don't know what, in terms of the kind of current thesis they're going off of. And of course, realistically, you could argue, well, it doesn't really matter because, like, the first film was going off of stuff from 10 years before it. But realistically, the slasher genre had only kind of died in 97. So they were doing that meta take to reinvigorate the genre, which is how, most narrative stuff works. I learned that in university. You take a genre, you start it, and it goes in a cycle to the point of, it makes a comedic riff on itself. Something like Deadpool, per se, when the superhero genre got tired. It's still tired, and Deadpool is now onto its third film. You can see where the system is now broken. Nevertheless, Scream was a riff on that, but not as a comedic thing. It has arguably comedic elements, sure, but it's taken itself as a serious but metatextual approach because you're going for a kind of more Wes Craven's New Nightmare approach than you do, Deadpool. So then you get to the second film, and now it's like, it's kind of the same film. And that's kind of the joke, that's kind of the metatext, but it's also this idea of how, slasher and horror films are defining culture because, of course, people are now being influenced by real events that have been transposed into films that are now repercussioning into real life events. So, of course, still in the film, but in the film's narrative. So, Scream, then they make Stab makes Scream 2, and so forth and so forth. With still, the villain has to be tied to the character somehow and all this kind of bullshit. Nevertheless, seriously, I keep saying the second film should have had Dewey as the villain and like he's controlling the cult. I don't know where I got that idea from, and I haven't rewatched the second film probably since I created that idea. Actually, no, I'm pretty sure I have. But like, that's just a weird theory I had. Anyway, the third film, again, takes it like, now they're on the Hollywood set of like the next Stab film, which I think is like the third Stab film or something. I don't know. It's one of those like, the second one didn't do well, so we're gonna bring back the cast of the original, like that kind of jam. And so it's like, it feels kind of like a Dream Warriors-esque type of film where it's going into the dreams, the meta of having a set of the first film in the film of the third film, and how these people are, the main characters are interacting with people who are actors who are playing them in this film, and like that's how meta the text is. So it's not exactly going to meta text of screen culture of what's previously happened, because this has been like, it's been like 2 years since the previous one came out or something. This is like back to back to back. These first three were like in the period of 4 years. It's insane how quickly these came out. So obviously there's that element to them that like, they can't be commentating on the genre, they have to be commentating on themselves. So the fourth one, again, is kind of commentating on reboot culture, but again, mostly just itself. And that's probably where the fifth one's going to go into. It's probably going to lean more into the reboot genre, which realistically, why not? If you're into reboot nostalgia bait genre, that's the territory that they have to kind of go down if they're going to go into this still metatech stuff of the stuff that's more clearly in the first film. Because I feel like they'd probably be arguing, this new Scream film is called Scream because it's going to be just like the first movie. Trust me, it won't. Don't get your hopes up, kids. Neve Campbell is going to die in the first scene. Nevertheless, that'd be cool. My curiosity lies obviously in that element, where I may be obviously overthinking, will Scream 5 have this meta text towards the genre as a whole, or will it just be a kind of meta text in the genre that's more infatuated with making sure it's still in the continuity of the previous 4 films? And now that I can understand, like, I don't really know where they're going to go with this one. I'm curious to see how it goes. Obviously, I'm going to go watch it probably on demand, because apocalypse. Nevertheless, I'm interested to see what they do with it. I hope that they go for a more meta approach like they did with the first film, and making it more about the current state and slate of, texts, because it's like, arguably the first film is dated because it's like, well, we don't have slasher films like that anymore 20 odd years later. It's like, yeah, that's true, but fuck, you can watch any of those 80s slasher films and they're all basically the same, like realistically in principle. And that's what the joke is in Scream, is that all these slasher films are going on the same principle and all in the same rule book and whatever. So it's like, there's elements that are like that, but then of course by the time the second film came out, you have to break some of those rules and re-establish new rules, and by the time you get to the third one, the rules are out the fucking window because it's the third film, and now it's the meta text is about the fact that it's about a film, making a film, making a film, making a film. You can see why the fourth film took all that back and was like, let's go back to the first one, but still be kind of like a commentary on like this slate of reboot culture as well. Like, we gotta get a fresh face so we can make more sequels and stuff. I'm pretty sure the main bad guy said that during one of her scenes. Anyway, no joke there. I'm fucking certain she did. I've seen that film like 3 times now. But still, like, the point just comes to that. Like, I feel like if the fourth film went into that kind of territory of reboot culture and whatever, the fifth film kind of has to as well. Like, the fifth film can't be referencing the fourth film too heavily because it's already got 10 whole years worth of other shit that it's had to deal with. Are they dealing with an apocalypse pandemic? I don't know. Does it matter? Who cares? They're probably not. Hopefully fucking not. I hate when they do that in movies. Anyway, it's just a thing I'm interested to see how they tackle. Will Scream 5 use the meta-text narrative that the first film and the fourth film used quite prominently, and will they use it to an effective degree? Will it be to do with a modern-day canon of, hey, this is what reboot and sequel culture is like and nostalgia culture is like, or will it just be, let's just do a slasher film of the characters from the previous 4 films, it's the 5th one now, so technically 5, and just see if we can kill them because they're in their 50s and whatever. They're old. They should be dead by now. Not in real life. I mean, in the slasher movies. They should have been killed off ages ago. But yeah, so it's a curiosity. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think they're going to try and do with the new one? Not narrative-wise, at least. Like, I don't give a shit what the fuck they do narrative-wise. As long as it's entertaining, that's good. But, like, do you think they're going to take this, like, another meta approach to the narrative? Obviously, they're not going to break the goddamn fourth wall and make it a fucking musical or whatever. This ain't an episode of Buffy. They could pull it off from Buffy. I'm not trying to criticize Buffy. Anyway, I'm curious to see what they do, because there are some prequels and sequels and reboots that are just flat out the same shit that they already were, just with a fresh coat of paint. Sometimes they're completely different, and maybe audiences don't like Prometheus and they just don't understand it. They're a bunch of assholes. Nevertheless, oh, just wait till I talk about Alien Covenant. Anyway, you get to other shit like, you know, the It films or something more reinventive like Happy Death Day. You know, sure, you can poke holes in it because it's like, oh, it's a dumb fucking idea and whatever. It's like, but bitch, is it fun? Is it entertaining? Because that's what it's trying to be. And it goddamn well is. Happy Death Day, good film. Second one, also a good film. Freaky, haven't seen it yet. I just have the Blu-ray. It was free. Anyway, see you next time. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And, eventually have I done a review of the Scream films? I'm pretty sure I have. I don't know. If I have, go check them out. In the comment section or on the screen. If not, this part will be really weird, because I haven't done a review of those films. Goodbye.